Gemini rising, we have the lunar eclipse happening in your 12th and 6th house axis. So the moon itself is in the 12th house. This is a subtle house. This is the place where it is called Saturn's joy. So isolation. And this is also the axis where I would love to have maybe the animal guides speak to, because
Oh my
this
gosh.
axis.
It's so funny you just said that because I was already intuitively getting for this that I was gonna use the animal the animal spirit deck. Like
Oh,
before you
I'm loving
said that.
that. Yeah,
So yeah, like it
everything.
already came through
Oh,
before you said it.
oh, I'm so glad. Yay. Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because the 12th and the 6th house axis have to do with large and small domestic animals as well.
Mhm.
So
And
this.
it's so funny to me because really when we set out to do this particular like not forecast, but this particular like all signs reading, like my mind was really thinking in terms of flower essences and crystals, and that so many animals have popped in this evening. You know,
Oh,
like we've really, we talked about snake medicine and we've got this animal deck, and then there's another animal deck that I brought up here to pull from. So it's interesting how this animal spirit medicine kind of chose to come in this evening, even though that wasn't really what we were thinking when we were talking about doing this. So
yeah. It's not surprising though, because we're both animal lovers as well.
mhm.
And then we're working with that as well. So yeah, the 12th house, it is more of a subtle energy. This is also a place that spiritual teachers come in as well. So is there some sort of rebellion that has to do with spirit guidance, and or like spirit guides, or doing, themes of loss, and hospitals have to do with the 12th house. So has work, the work house, like the 6th house is called the joy of Mars, and you have Mars on your ascendant Gemini. So your chart ruler is Kazimi the sun at this point. So that is important to note, that your chart ruler, who has been under the beams of the sun, is super powered at that time and is in conversation with the 6th house. So your body, your psychology is interacting with the energies of the 6th house. So this constant backbreaking like work themes, has have those themes blocked out maybe any kind of intuitive work that you, or guidance that you've been working, or maybe a need to work with a counselor. So 12th house is not just, past lives, but where we see counsel for hurt or loss, or like the voice is, with Taurus is in a subtle house. So has the attunement and intuitive space being blocked out by overwork and being overtired, and maybe some sort of female uh, influence as well, with this 6th house theme, trouble with some sort of feminine influence, and maybe some sort of an announcement that's coming there that may be blocking out this intuition. So I would just love to encourage Gemini to take some time and maybe think about how you've been so diligent with your work themes, and how your intuition, if that's feeling blocked out, if we can encourage Gemini in any way with any medicines that you can think of, Tabitha.
Mhm. Well, and so this is just purely intuitive. So if from an astrological standpoint this doesn't make sense, please let me know. But I'm almost getting that, or I'm not almost getting, I'm getting that because of the Kazemi, um, that those downloads will be able to come through because Mercury is in its power. Does that make sense, or does that from an
Yes,
astrological
yes, as a chart ruler, and I'm wondering too, if because it is Kazemi and it being your chart ruler, if that
standpoint?
is some sort of added boost or sort of communication for you to work with.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that's just what's coming through to me
yeah.
intuitively. And then also just with Mars there in the first house and Mars being the ruler of Scorpio. Um, but that, those downloads like that really the active mind, the information just like coming through on that day specifically even. But what came to me as you were talking was the word reset, and I was getting like this image of sleep and like really giving the brain an opportunity to recharge so that these messages can come in. So actually I right before we jumped on the call, I was sharing with Callie, I have a 12th house sun. So I oftentimes feel a little more comfortable behind the camera and shining from behind the scenes than in front of the camera. So I actually took from the Alchemist Kitchen's plant alchemy line, their spirit intuition blend, not for intuition, although, hey, it helps, right? But I took it specifically because it has Tulsi and Rose and Reishi. Sorry, I almost wanted to say Reiki, but Tulsi, Rose, Reishi, and it has like this calming effect. And so I wanted to be, in my power. I didn't want to be nervous. But this actually would be something good to help with sleep. It has passion flower, it has skullcap, it has tulsi, reishi, blue lotus, which actually is not only good for calming, but it's great for vivid dreaming if you want to do any type of dream work or get those downloads while you're sleeping. So then what you would want to do when you wake up is journal your dream, because what happens a lot of times in our dreams, the information it's coming through to us in pictures. I mean, there might be some speech in the dream as well, but it's like we're viewing it. It's very visual. It gets stored in a different part of the brain. And if we don't put our dreams into words upon waking, because they get stored in a different part of the dream, when you go to recall the dream, oftentimes it's like, oh, wait, like I've already forgotten what it was. Like you remembered it like right when you woke up and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's gone. And it's because you didn't put it into words. And so you can't access it from recall because it got stored in a different part of your brain. So either telling the dream to yourself or journaling it right upon waking, and then trying to find those patterns or those messages or those downloads. And I'm sorry, let me just finish reading what was in here. So blue lotus, rose petals, Chisandra berry, and cardamom, which cardamom is one of my favorites.
Ah, I
Um,
love Blue Lotus.
the blend. But yeah, or even blue lotus tea, other things that are helpful with de-stressing in the evenings, whether it's ashwagandha or chamomile, whatever kind of floats your fancy. CBD oil, but something that will help you to relax. Some people take melatonin, you could do restorative yoga before bed, but something that will put you into that relaxed state where you can sleep, to just allow the brain to recharge. It's just like our cell phone, it's just like our computer. If you leave it on for like days on end without turning it off and turning it back on again, like it just starts doing wonky things, and our brains, need that reset as well. So, doing whatever you need to do to get that proper amount of sleep and that deep, restful sleep to be able to receive these downloads and these nuggets that Gemini and Mercury have to give you.
Yes, and you are an air sign, a lovely air sign that is about the movement of ideas and just so intelligent. And again, I love that you said and mentioned about like having too many tabs on and having like the computer on, and how like shifts and changes happen like in a technological way, because this air
Oh yeah.
there is this air trine that
Mm-hmm.
happening between the ninth house, which is also a place of dreams, this like liminal space where there's the dream house. So if you've been feeling like your dreams are off, like I'm loving the blue lotus in that blend that you are talking about. And as a 12th house sun, like you just like were so spot on with all of those hits.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I love
honestly,
it.
too, like going back to the dream work, if there's something that you have confusion about, ask yourself a question before you go to sleep with the intention of like receiving the answer. because dream work can be really powerful.
Yes. So when it comes to the eclipses and just like noticing, like how can we just notice the subtle things that are happening in our body? Or maybe they're screaming and they're really loud and we have an abundance of energy that is coming in because it is a full moon. And I'm wondering what the cards are saying about this 12th sixth house axis.
What the cards are saying. This is fun.
I know. This is so much fun. This is pomegranate juice, by the way. Effervescent pomegranate juice, not wine. Thought I'd
Oh,
be
and I was
fun.
drinking sparkly water with my spirit intuition um tincture, for lack of
Oh,
a.
I love that. Actually, I might have a chocolate.
So it's a botanical concentrate mixer, not quite a tincture, but a botanical mixer.
I'm gonna have some Halloween chocolate.
Some Halloween what?
Some Halloween chocolate.
Oh, Halloween chocolate, fun.
I also wanted
Oh,
to talk about the
interesting.
10th house as well.
Sure.
Um,
What do you want to say about the 10th house? It might tie into our card.
so the 10th house, when we were talking about Taurus rising, had Saturn there. We have Jupiter in a superior square to the first house, which is it's very positive. So it's a career house, how you're publicly seen. So this is good for a public image for the next like month, and it's kind of going back to the point in time this spring when Jupiter was conjunct Venus and Neptune. Even Mars is there at that point as well. So if there's themes that happen during the spring, maybe tying up of this imprint of this Jupiter in his domicile energy, very positive for um, maybe teaching or being stepping into, or like even awards. Like if there's an award that you are up for, or
Hmm.
if you've been concerned about your public image, anything that has to do with how you're most seen in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna
so again, also this ninth house theme, like Saturn being there, has there been any restriction for in your dreams, or your thought and movement forward, or restriction that you have with travel? I know COVID is still still been affecting places,
have.
and is there a restriction when it comes to travel, or thoughts about that. So yeah, I'm really
Well, we're
excited
gonna
to
have
hear
to.
about
I'm sorry,
the.
go ahead.
No, I was just about to pass it over to you.
Oh, okay. So we'll have to talk through this. So I got the Panther card. So
Oh,
it's got the alchemical sign for fire. And the first thing that comes to me when I look at this image is it is yeah, I think of panthers as like very like majestic and like regal, and you think of like Halloween being associated with black cats, and this is like on a whole other level, like
oh
this like
yeah.
big cat. But what really catches my eye here, and I don't know how it ties into the astrology, but this panther is in a defensive stance. It's like this, like, I'm giving you a warning, get away from me, I'm protecting myself. And then we have the fire symbol. I'm actually going to consult just to see what Kim Kranz has in her book. Again, this is the animal spirit deck, just to see if that helps us to interpret this any further.
Well, when I think
Because
about like
Mhm.
protection, is there also something that is happening with cyber protection? Like, is there some sort of like
um,
maybe like cyber influence? It's something to do with like your personal body, or even because Scorpio and uh Mars being the ruler and it being in Gemini,
I
Mars,
found the connection though.
yeah, like Mars can
Yeah,
be
when
just
I open the
dangerous.
book, the first thing it says is annihilation of the unnecessary purging. And that to me is very much one of the essences of Scorpio. Just like purging all that no longer serves. Um, I think that I didn't initially see the connection, but I feel like it's that purging of the unnecessary. And then also, if you think about it, it's, Scorpio, even just in terms of like color association, they're black and they have that protective stance with, with the stinger, whereas like this panther is kind of like in this like protective warning stance. And then I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it just talks about at the bottom here, when in balance, brave and productive; when out of balance, self-destructive. Again, that kind of reminds me of Scorpio. And then to bring this into balance, get rid of the unnecessary, which
Mm-hmm.
brings back to the dream work of like really drilling down. You can really discern what patterns no longer serve me, what am I ready to release, what is transforming, um, to just kind of distill that through the dream work.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm also sensing like if this sixth house themes are just really, really overpowering, that
Mhm.
does that make us like go into this defensive stance? And is there some sort of like lack of clarity because of our intuition lines, like as if it was a radio signal that kind of gets cut off at this time? If that gets cut off, and then do we get into this defensive stance because of that? So,
Mhm.
yeah,
'Cause we can't see what's next.
yeah, this communication line between the chart ruler, Mercury being Kazemi, this conversation that is happening. I mean, Mercury will be going into his exile shortly after this. So, as a Mercury ruled sign, and with
Mhm.
Mars being at times injurious and discordant. I mean, being careful about injuries and even
Mhm.
psychological wounds and injuries at this
Yeah.
this point for the next several months. Um, just being really gentle. Like, I mean, it could also Mars on the ascendant is also like, I really want to go to the gym.
Mhm.
Excuse me. So there's a lot of factors, but the will and the drive is like going back over. This is a long stay, and this lunation cycle will be playing in hand for the next 6 months, and he will be there in your first house throughout this entire season. So
And one last thing before you move on, you just kind of made me think when you said that, with the sixth house being the house of like wellness routines and all of that, um, going to the gym, like your body, like being physically tired and then being able to sleep really well is a result of
yeah.
that.
Well, it's interesting that you say that too, because it's like I really want to go to the gym, but I'm too tired to do it. So I'm feeling beat up about myself because I'm not. And it's like, it's okay. You can give it a rest. And
Yeah.
like our body is like attuned to these
All
cycles. We
right.
have permission to go into these rest and replenish cycles.
Mhm.
So again, there's like that drive, that Mars being there. I mean, I had Mars on my ascendant, and I was really watching for like, this impulse that I had to like really express my, bodily like urge to work out and go on these like really, really, really long hikes because Pisces is, like long, long wandering, like going nowhere for the point of going nowhere to expand the map. So, I mean, Mars being here in a technological sign, like, but again, like I'm gonna go back to that intake and that outtake. If you've
Mhm.
been in an intake of increased intake while the North Node has been in the 12th house, intuitively like leaning into that space. And then you already all of a sudden feel like cut off from the intuition. I'm really feeling that blue lotus and that blend that you talked about.
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
so um, yeah, and then of course the south node being a decrease, in or maybe you know wondering like, are these routines working for me? Are these is the grind really for me? Like that sort of thing. So
And if
I
you
hope you
want
Gemini
to,
work through
I'm sorry,
that.
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done.
I was just going to say, if you want to enhance your dream work, you could take like a clear quartz or a crystal of your choosing, um, put it under your pillow just with the expectation, or not with the expectation, but with the intention of getting, enhanced messages through your sleep. Now, depending on the crystal, um, certain crystals are very high energy and they can actually cause insomnia. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm so restless, I can't fall asleep, remove the crystal. It's not the right one for you to do dream work with, but typically like a clear quartz should work really well. Um, and you want to like, cleanse it beforehand, however you do that, whether you do sage, whether you want to do running water, leaving it in a sun moon cycle. There's so many different ways to cleanse crystals, but I would go ahead and cleanse it before you use it. But once you put it under your pillow and sleep with it, you should notice like really vivid dreams, or enhanced, information coming through. I like to try this with like various crystals just to see like what what I get, or like what they're telling me. And then again, if it's something that's too high energy, like I remove it. So it's, if that's something that you want to try out, that's just another option.
Oh, I love that. So we have Panther energy for you, Gemini. So calling in that Panther energy for you. So we're going to move on to Cancer. Okay.